But now going on to another story, and look, I'm a former veteran. I did 2 tours in Iraq. I volunteered to enlist to become a United States Marine. But now Daniel has an interesting story where the American government, the military, is actually running out of recruits, so they're now targeting 12-year-olds. Daniel.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. Many adjectives can be said about this story, but we have the U.S. militaries having continued trouble. I think we've covered this a few times before, how they've had a lot of trouble reaching recruitment goals. And so the U.S. military is volunteer only. There's no draft, and they're running out of people because a smaller and smaller group of people serve in the military, and they're from a smaller and smaller parts of the country. So many people don't know someone. There's the lack of the familiarity that you may have had in World War II or after Vietnam, where everyone knew someone who was in the war, is not there anymore. So they are having trouble recruiting people because, from the U.S. military's point of view, and they've been saying this in this article, that high school seniors have traditionally been the Army's recruiting, their most reliable target audience to get people in the military. The problem is people have kind of left in their head, from the military's point of view, joining the military is an option because, they see the wars, they see the Middle East, they see the news, they read the news. Hopefully some of them hear what we have to say on this, and they go, why would I go in the military and just help corporations make money somewhere? So less people are doing it. So what the military has been doing is they've realized, when they've hit 17, they've already made up their mind, for the most part, that they don't want to join the military. So they've started targeting kids much younger, all the way down to 12 years old, to get it in their head that, hey, you'll want a career in the military when you hit 18. So we're going to start talking to you earlier, and ways that they've done that is fascinating. So as an example, this is a picture. I'll try and pick it up so you can see it, but it's Lieutenant Colonel Smith Morley gives the oath of enlistment to 35 future soldiers at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, before the NFL game. So I'm going to hold this up, and you can see so that's a perk. Oh, you get to be in the middle of a football stadium. That's pretty cool. They're trying to put all these perks in place. And I thought it was interesting that the U.S. military has an esports team that has several esports teams now that are being used to recruit. They're putting people that are in MMA, that they're getting, those are recruiters that they have them train in MMA so that they can have that logo and talk about it when they're doing that. So it's very funny how adaptive they are at trying to really get into the new thing. It's fascinating how much faster it is than regular, like Congress can't do anything this quick. So I gotta give it to the military for at least being accepting esports faster than ESPN does. But I think that interesting point that we're really getting at with is people don't want to join the military anymore. People are too big to join the military because of healthcare and food in general. There aren't people that are actually, because you have to be in the military, if I remember correctly, for someone that's my height, you have to be 200 pounds or 205 pounds or less, and that's not a lot of Americans anymore. And the ones that are don't want to do that anymore. So they're going younger. What do you guys have to say?
Well, you're right that the military's, especially recruiters, are being more adaptive, and I got to give them credit to being adaptive, because some of you guys may not know, but when you're in the military, and I don't know about this firsthand, but these are stories that we've been told time and time again, the most stressful job to have when you're in service, especially if you're going to stay in longer than 4 years, eventually, especially if you're in the Marine Corps, you have to choose either becoming a drill instructor, Marine security guard, or becoming a recruiter. And the recruiter is always the toughest job, the most demanding job, and it also has the highest suicide rates, because you have to meet a daily or monthly quota of having new recruits coming into office, and it's not an easy thing to do. And it's interesting that they're doing this, but there's also that pushback, because you got to remember, things are different now. We have the internet. We have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips. I know it sounds funny to call our cell phones that, but we get information just like that. And, young people are aware of what's happening. Maybe they're not politically active yet. Time to get involved. But, people see what's happening overseas, and really also the treatment of veterans and some of the issues that are coming back. Like, you have a lot of veterans suffering from PTSD, and even then, we have high suicide rates. And I don't think a lot of young people want to go through something like that, or risk the chance of seeing one of their comrades, die horribly in a war that's only going to benefit corporations. It's just, I don't know.
I just want to say very quickly before Paul gets in, it's fascinating how we're talking about Yemen before, and that's really another story of child soldiers, and it's fascinating how in the U.S., a country of over 330 million people, that the military's like, we gotta do some version of child soldier to get them in young so that they'll join in high school after they graduate high school.
Paul?
I'm curious about so you're saying they're targeting younger people. Obviously, you can't join the military as a 12-year-old.
16 is you have to have approval, but I think that's the lowest you can.
With parental approval,
parental approval, and I think a few other approvals too.
That's insane.
16 is, that's right, because at the Marine Corps, my very first Marine Corps birthday, we always have a ball event, to celebrate the history and founding of the Marine Corps. There was a guy there, I think he was 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah.
One of the things I always find interesting is if I think back, I don't remember seeing any recruiting advertising or any recruitment efforts when I was a child until I was maybe in high school. And then you started seeing these, Go Army advertisements, in the front of, before movie trailers when you went to see a movie in theaters.
I remember that.
And then you started seeing the advertisements on TV. And then sometime in the early to mid 2000s, there was basically a huge amount of cooperation between various branches of the military and the NFL, and football games became these giant recruiting tools for the U.S. military. You'd have flybys and overt patriotism displays, and
this is why Colin Kaepernick was such a big deal. This is not discussed a lot about why it was so important that they didn't want him to kneel, because the military has been paying the NFL a huge amount of money for permission to fly a jet over to do the pledge. The entire reason they do the pledge out in the field is for military recruitment. So when Colin's doing that, he's actually hurting a military contract with the NFL
that they paid for.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you get in the way of the thing that we paid for? We are trying to propagandize the American public, and you are making that hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's I don't know. It's a little bit disgusting every time I see a military branch advertising on television or in a movie theater, or again these NFL type things, or in this case, they have esports teams now. I haven't even seen that. I love
US Army
esports.
Esports team.
Yeah,
there's several of them, different games, just like any other, just like I don't know how I'm blanking on esports brands right now. Give me any group.
Australis.
Yeah, so it's like it's like they have like here's the U.S. Army esports team for Overwatch. Here's the one for Apex Legends. They're going into it just like anyone else will, and it's very fascinating because at the same time, all these issues come up about having the military do that and what it represents, but at the same time, part of me is like, as terribly run as the U.S. government is, it's like at least they're being effective. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but
it's what it reminds me of? Something from Black Mirror almost now.
Yeah,
like, hey, you've got to adapt. You've got to get more recruits. Well, you got to use the internet, find out what's hip and interesting, and then that's what you do.
Oh, wait, I just realized. Do you know what's really? Isn't this not a very similar way that ISIS recruits people?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Just wait till we start seeing, like, YouTube videos that might have been produced by the U.S. military.
They do that.
Yeah,
they have
do that.
videos and stuff now.
Yeah, they do that, man.
Yeah.
So, here's what, man. Where are you living at? Come on, you living under a rock?
I don't know. This is an interesting question. In a day and age where we're using less and less actual boots on the ground, actual military. We've got a lot of drones.
Well, you're always going to need boots on the ground, no matter
right?
what.
But
I mean,
that's want to wear sneakers.
Is there less need to have high recruitment? Is there actually less of a high recruitment need?
Well, I guess
as a result of that,
it depends, because like no one wants to go in the military anymore, and it's like, just as a recent example, we have 5 aircraft carriers and we want to build 6 more. Each aircraft carrier takes 10,000 people, just an aircraft carrier by itself. That's not the support ships that are around it. So if you just on that front, we're probably talking 15,000 people per escort and carrier combo. I don't know exactly how many people are on missile cruisers. And we keep extending ourselves to fortify and maintain these 1,000 military bases everywhere. So the U.S. does need to maintain its empire, a number of million of people in it, and people are leaving, no one's coming in, eventually that math is going to catch up. And I think part of why you haven't seen when you were younger and you don't remember military is they probably, after 9/11, they had a lot of recruits.
Yeah.
And those have run out.
Mm-hmm. And now everyone's also seeing the aftermath of the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, and other future engagements that we've been in.
Yeah.
And it's a situation that we have.
Hey everybody, if you enjoyed that video, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit that bell notification so you can hear when new videos come out. We'd love to see you every time we go live.